Mayor Michael Kerr, having a look at the agenda today, a very important one first off, and that was the air services, a helicopter pad at Mowbray. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? And it was good that it went through. You voted to go ahead with this?
Well, I believe it's good. You know, it's a really important part of the Wangetti Trail. It's not a commercial tourism helicopter usage. It's going to be for the building of the Wangetti Trail and then for maintenance at a later stage. Now, the applicant went through, the staff looked at all the different concerns that came in from the community consultation on that application. They went and spoke to professionals in that field as far as environmental concerns go and how to deal with them, and they put those conditions within the report. So, you know, we can't ask for more than that because, you know, obviously if we put conditions on it and then the councillors knock it back, you know, he can take that to court also, and the judge will look at it and say, well, they've been fair and reasonable, they've put conditions on all these environmental concerns, there's no reason why this shouldn't have gone through. So that's also something that sits with us. But I was very happy with the fact that the staff, you know, did go through the environmental concerns, they've put conditions there that they have to abide by. And of course, you know, we know what this shire's like, people will be watching them, they will be making sure that they're adhering to the conditions that are in place, and if they don't, then of course council will deal with that.
So where exactly is this, if you can explain it?
So as you're going down the highway, you come to a 100-kilometre area and you'll notice there's two very clear blocks of lands, one on the right-hand side, one on the left-hand side. This is on the left-hand side block, just before you get to the actual corner where you see the yield point sign.
You were talking about environmental issues. What were they?
Well, there's different concerns, of course, with the native life that's down there, especially with the dugongs, of course, because there is seagrass there. But as the planner said, you know, the tides there are very large, so a lot of the time these helicopters will be taking off. Tides will be out, so they won't be affected by that point. And then they've put height restrictions on, so they have to get to a certain height before they can go across. If they happen to see any, they can't go within 500 metres of it. There's different conditions that have been put in place to protect them so they're not disturbed. Of course, your native birds and all that down there as well. A couple of people have compared it to the Paws and Claws site, which is incorrect. There's not cassowaries down there. The Paws and Claws property got blocked because there was some plants there that could sustain and feed a cassowary if one happened to be there, and that was the issue there with that one. You know, so we're quite confident that the conditions on this application are enough to sustain what needs to be done, and we're happy for it to go ahead.
Okay, a development change at 24 Macrossan Street. Now, I think one of the councillors said it was an eyesore and the other one said it was horrible, the balcony there. So we're getting a new shop in there, or shops?
Well, that's right. Everyone knows Mango Jams, of course. It was an iconic restaurant for many, many years, as I stated in the meeting. You know, and people have got a great love for mangoes because at some point most people that live here work there, or they certainly dined there. So some great memories, but it's been empty now for quite some time. They did try to regenerate it, but didn't work. And so the owner has sold it, of course, to these new people, and they're willing to develop it. So they're going to turn it into 3 single shops that will come straight to the edge of the street footpath with a nice veranda area so people can walk past not getting wet, have the sun, etc. Looks, you know, very fashionable, suits Port Douglas, and will be 3 great new shops for the main street.
We don't know what's going into those shops yet?
Not just yet, no.
Now, safe places in Mossman. This is incredibly important for people who are suffering domestic violence.
Absolutely, and this was just a condition that we had to put a governance over the block with the federal government who's funded it, and that's now just the paperwork done for that to occur.
But it's great, isn't it?
It is absolutely amazing. You know, it's heartbreaking to see some of these issues that happen in this shire, and we have got one of the highest percentages in the state. And to have somewhere here in our shire finally, so that, you know, when they're affected, they don't have to get dragged down to Cairns, where they're away from family, they're away from friends, kids can't get to school, all those things. So, and that really is important that you stay in your local area when these things occur. So, very happy with it.
Warner's Bridge construction project, $938,277. A lot of money, but gee, work needed.
Absolutely. It's a bridge that's well been in need of some love and care, and she's finally going to get it, and that'll make it, you know, a new bridge for people to absolutely have access through, especially with wet seasons, etc.
Then we came to water and wastewater quarterly report. Now that just went through as per normal. But then we heard level 1 water restrictions to begin tomorrow, Wednesday.
That's correct. So it does limit when you can water with irrigation systems, but it's still at the slightest end so far. We hope that the weather is going to turn very soon, and we're going to have some rain. That's what's expected. So that limitation of having that won't be for too long.
Disaster management report.
Something I really want people to read. It's worthwhile downloading it and see what this council does to prepare, be ready, and is able to do if there's a disaster. And that's what this report is for. It shows from the start to the finish as far as disaster management goes, and it's well worth a read.
Then we went on to corporate credit card policy. You fixed all that up. Principal place of residence. I'm not quite sure what that was about.
It was just a glitch within what we'd already passed in the planning scheme, and that was just to attach a little line in there for the planning scheme, because there were certain areas where it wasn't quite fitting in right with the planning and the billing and the accounts, and that just had to fix that up, and that's been done now.
That's for people who are ratepayers.
Who are ratepayers in the Shire, that's correct.
Colleen said that the ferry had lost $171,000. Now I guess that is of some concern, but there is hope that that will be recouped in the future.
Well, exactly. As everyone knows, this is normally the busy period, and of course our accounting department accounts for that being busy and getting revenue during that period, which hasn't occurred. So we are looking forward to this announcement now that the borders should be opening on the 17th of December, and it's really important that we can make the most out of that. So January, which is normally accounted for as a quieter month, we presume will be very, very busy, because I'm quite sure a lot of people will be wanting to get out of Melbourne and Sydney, New South Wales, Victoria, get up here, have a holiday, refresh themselves, and of course they'll be using the ferry, and that should generate more income then than what we anticipated, so therefore hopefully that'll catch up a bit.
Ka-ching, ka-ching. That'll be fantastic. The Christmas period, council closed down 24th of December to Tuesday the 4th of January. Council meeting dates, you had that, operational plans. Now then you came to the report from the CEO. Now taking part in that, of course, was Mark Stormer, and we've got to give credit to Mark for that, because it was a great report, and he was at the helm, CEO was, that is, at that particular time.
Absolutely. So the majority of that period, Mark was at the helm of the council, so credit where credit's due. Absolutely, that's correct. He was here, so he has to be acknowledged as part of that report as well.
And that probity investigation as well, he came up very well in that, and I pointed that out in my editorial, that when they looked at how he'd handled it, spot on.
Exactly. The probity audit, and I'm hoping people are actually taking notice of it. It very clearly shows that the CEO and the staff did the right thing. They had a right process, they had a right concerns as far as everything that they did from start to finish was done correctly. And that's extremely important. It was done within the legal frameworks that we have. It was done within the appropriate times that we could do things. So it's a read that's well worth reading. I'm still arguing at the moment with solicitors as far as releasing further data in it. I believe that it is in the public interest to know. Negotiations have finished, and I think that information should be in the public realm as well. So I will keep you posted as that comes along.
The Deputy Mayor agrees with you, Lisa Stomason, who originally brought up the motion. Housing shortage. Now, Councillor Nolly actually came up with quite a detailed report in the fact that in a 3-month period, 48 people in total were looking for houses for one reason or another. So we have a housing shortage here, yet Council knocks back development on a rural block, which you did at the last meeting.
Unfortunately, as was stated, we're bound by different schemes, different layers and different plans. It's unfortunate that we have a lot of rural blocks that are covered under the state planning scheme as well, that we'd get a slap across the wrist if we even looked at doing it and they'd reverse it on us, because it doesn't sit within the plan that was approved. So we are pushing very heavily to get that plan updated. It's been 10 years since it was looked at. It's well overdue. We need to get the state plan reassessed. So when things like that come up, we know that we can say, okay, well, that block is appropriate. We can subdivide that one, because the other blocks around it are all subdivided anyway. It's going to fit, and that's something this council should be able to do. It would be the right thing to do. It gives us more rural blocks that we can utilise for people that wish to go to a bigger property, frees up units, etc. in the town, so that we get more employees in those places. it's really important that we do look at all aspects, the retirement especially. I've always been a big push to get these retirement villages in, because at least then these people that are taking up units, which isn't appropriate living for a retiree, they can get out to one of these retirement villages where they can live in an appropriate living condition that's safe for them, that's easy to get around, local communities, and that frees those units up as well for employees that need to work in the town.
And not that you're not doing something already. You've got Craigleyans and other places too, where at least we're getting some more housing going.
We certainly are. We're pushing as hard as we can to get these estates in and running. These things take time though. We're looking at a council that, we had less than 300 properties, between when we de-amalgamated in 2019 came onto the books. So there hasn't been a lot of, property development here in the past. And, we're feeling that now because, if properties like across the highway, for example, which I was pushing when I first got in as a councillor, 6 years ago, they'd be built. We'd be having extra residential properties there. We wouldn't be having this issue now. So we are suffering for it, but we're working as quick as we can. I know there's another estate opening up at Kuya. Hopefully we'll get the other one done in Craigley soon. I'd love to see Mossman also open up more, so we've got more housing in the estate there. But we're working on all those things now. So, this is temporary. We shall move on. We shall fix it. And I will say, this isn't something new. I remember, it was only a couple of years ago, we had a film being made here as a mini-series, The Pacific, and we had no accommodation. There was nothing here. Everything was full. We've had other occasions where I've had people come up to me and, they're both working full-time. They've got an 11-year-old girl and they're living in a tent in someone's backyard because they couldn't find somewhere to live. This is not a new thing and something that needs to be fixed this time. But we have to be conscious that we need facilities. We need to have sewage. We need to have water to cater for all these things as well. So it is a slow process. It's a process we have to think through properly, but we're working on it and we want to make it happen.
One more meeting for the year?
One more meeting for the year, that's correct, and then we get to Christmas again. Who would have thought it's come along this fast? It'll be Easter before we know it.
Okay, Mayor Kerr, thank you.
Thank you very much.